Bryony Montgomery here. Welcome to episode 3 of The Unfuckwithable Woman. And this episode is going to be a deeply personal one in and around my own story as to what brought me to this point in my timeline and to bringing this work to you, particularly in and around what I offer through the Somatherapy Collective. So let's begin with my story, and I can track it back to very small, but we're gonna pick it up probably in the teen years, because that's when things got a little bit sticky. So I left school after I'd finished my HSC, and I fell into a very deep depression. I felt like my whole life just came to a halt, and I really started to question my existence, who I was, where I fitted, where I belonged. And after some time of kind of figuring out some, different things and kind of going on some adventures, an overseas trip, and I found an incredible job that I really loved. And my career was taking off, and my job was I just loved my job so much. It just widened my world and who I was and where I was going. And I was working for a local newspaper, so there was lots of different connections with local celebrities and events, and some really dynamic and amazing people, some of which I'm still friends with today. So I'm making my way in the world and figuring things out, and then my mum gets diagnosed with cervical cancer. The big issue here with my mum being diagnosed with cervical cancer, which is a completely treatable disease and can be prevented, was that her own mother had died at 42, also with cervical cancer. And my mother had been unable to say goodbye to her because my maternal grandmother was living in New Zealand at the time. So there was a lot of grief, and there was a lot of stickiness, and there was a lot of fear that rose in her system in and around the cancer diagnosis, but everything that was triggered from beyond, from her past and beyond the grave. And my mother had a very difficult, and I'm not going to speak at length at this because there's people a part of this story that I want to really honour and protect and keep private. But my mother's story leading up to this point was extremely dysfunctional. She had things happen to her in childhood that were just beyond horrifying, and she could have prevented this. She could have prevented the cervical cancer if she had have been checked out by the doctor. But there was a lot of trauma in and around trusting males, trusting systems, and also allowing somebody to examine her in such an intimate way. So when she got the diagnosis, it was just after she separated from my father.